Hello there. Today we are going to be doing a breakdown and analysis of Bo Burnham's skit Left Brain, Right Brain from his What Netflix special, which can also be seen on YouTube. This is not a reaction video, I've seen this before, but we're going to be breaking down some of the different, I guess cinematography still works even though it's a live show. I guess the theatrical elements and then also the themes and things that he addresses in this bit. If you haven't seen before, I do have a playlist that I'll link here with some other Bo Burnham analysis videos, most of them from Inside, but a few of them from his other specials as well. Let's dive in and see. I think this is one of his more theatrical bits that he has, and I think it's a good kind of precursor to, it's easy to see how he started with this bit and then ended up with something like Inside. Let's see kind of the beginning of that evolution of his career.
Hello, patient 24602.
Okay, so right off the bat, first of all, it transitions pretty abruptly here, and he's got these weird lights flashing behind him, and these weird kind of like robotic kind of noises, and then this voiceover starts happening. The voiceover refers to him as patient 24602, which is actually a reference for the musical theater nerds, of which, Bo is one. It's actually a reference to Les Mis. In the musical Les Miserables, the main character is prisoner 24601. And so then in this, Bo decided he would be patient 24602, which is just the next number up, right? So I love that he put that little Easter egg sort of thing in there for all the musical theater nerds.
Hi, I'm sorry.
How are you feeling?
Not great.
Has the treatment been working?
No, it hasn't been.
What are your remaining symptoms?
I internalize my feelings. I have trouble articulating other people and relating to them.
So
It's just
basically
hard.
you're still a little bitch.
Real mature of you, disembodied voice up
I
there.
was just joking, nigga.
We are right by Oakland. Careful with that shit.
I'm not human. I can say whatever I want.
All right, just get to the.
There we go. It's a gutsy move by him. I think he does such a good job of playing with the whole idea of like performance and like people's perceptions and things like that. So he knows that, and he does a great job of like towing that line of like being offensive and not being offensive and things like that. He knows that if he, as Bo Burnham, says that word, that's a problem, right? But like, what if it is somebody else? What if it's some disembodied robot voice that's not human that says it, even though he's the one who wrote the bit? Does that matter? Does it make it less offensive and more socially acceptable? He has the punchline of the, careful, we're right by Oakland, careful, you can't say that, and he does the same thing. I forget if it's before or after this in the special, where he has the same joke about don't be a Jew, and then it's himself, his voice, but it's the like him sing-songing in a pre-recorded voiceover, and so performer Bo says, whoa, no, that's a glitch, you can be Jewish, like that, that's not me saying that. He does something similar in Make Happy as well, where the voiceovers are kind of bullying him, and then at the end he goes, just to be clear, I wrote, conceived, and did that whole bit, that was all me. So he's constantly playing with that whole idea of like performer, and like he's not in control and in charge on the stage. His character that he's playing, his stage persona, is kind of at the mercy, at the whim of these other influences, these other voices and things that talk to him throughout his specials. And we see it in Make Happy. And there's some really interesting kind of interviews and things where people point that out and talk to him about that. Even though it's a quick little joke and probably wasn't worthy of this much discussion, I do think it's an interesting thing that he does that is a kind of a theme throughout his comedy. And again, probably makes some people go, ew, like, did he really just say that? But it's the way he's able to talk about things and do things in a way that, again, kind of flirts with that line of going too far without actually crossing it. And I really appreciate that.
What's wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Please.
Your emotions and your logic are at war.
Okay.
Your creativity and your analysis are at war. And most simply, your left and right brain are at war.
My left and my right.
To fix the problem, we must separate them from each other.
Separate.
Splitting your neurological functions in 5, 4, 3.
We book an appointment. You don't just start counting down.
This may hurt a bit.
I don't even know what it is.
0.
Just.
Yeah, so this is very, very dramatic, right? Again, he's almost like a victim of like whatever's happening in the situation, and the aggressive noises in the background and the bright flashing lights, and they also change the camera angle up a couple times during this shot where it's from one side and then it moves, and then so it kind of adds to that like disjointed mumble jumble, chaotic feeling that's happening right now.
Isolation complete.
And it's really probably one of the most like dramatic, visually interesting things that you wouldn't normally expect to see at a stand-up comedy show, right? But again, it's Bo, and he does it his own way, totally different style. And at this point in even the beginning is a lot like that too, and so it's just what people have come to expect from him at this point. But yeah, very, very different than, and more theatrical and more dramatic than most other comedy, that you could think of.
This is Bo's left brain. Objective, logical, cold, analytical, aware of patterns, aware of trends. He's efficient. And a prick.
I like that they take time here to introduce each character and kind of describe them with their character traits and things like that. The lighting choices are interesting and pretty spot on in this one. When we're on left brain, he is bathed in this, to me it seems white, but it might be a little blue or purpley, but definitely a cold color, and it's brighter and more kind of harsh and clean and emotionless almost. Like I said, cold, analytical, clear, logical. So the lighting choice and the character definitely go together, and we're gonna see the same thing with right brain in a second here.
This is Bo's right brain. Subjective, creative, sensory, aware of feelings, aware of people. He's emotional.
Yes.
And an idiot.
It's your opinion, so just
Okay,
careful
boys.
with opinions. You.
All right, so when we get to right brain, first of all, he's, the first thing we notice is the color. So this is more red, maybe pinkish, maybe slightly. There's other purple lights in the background, but it's a warm color. Red is obviously associated with things like love and passion and anger and desire and just a more emotional color, right? So it makes sense that he would pick that for this part of his character. And then obviously he also changes his voice too and makes it a little sillier, goofier. He changes his mannerisms and how he's using his body and just being goofier, right, when he's being right brain than when he's being left brain.
Play nice.
I am the left brain, I am the left brain. I work really hard till my inevitable death brain. You got a job to do, you better do it right. And the right way is with the left brain's might. I like Oreos and pussy, yeah. And I cried for at least an hour after watching Toy Story 3.
Okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about here, but he does a really good job of, even though he's one person, kind of showing visually, making us feel like there's actually two people having a conversation. And the way that he does that is that whenever he is left brain, he is kind of, they try to keep him, not always, but more onto the, what for us is the right side of the screen. But if you're doing it from Bo's perspective, like he's on more on the stage left side, looking towards the right, as if he were the left half of the brain looking right. And then when he's right brain, he turns his body so he's looking more towards the left, so it's like he's on the left side of Bo's brain looking to the right. And you'll notice they tend to try to keep him not centered in the shot for the most part. They tend, for the most part, try to keep him so that if he's right brain, there's space to the left of him, like where left brain would be, like he's on this side of the conversation. And then when he's left, there's more open space on this side of the shot so that it's like he's looking this direction. So just notice that whenever he changes, he always changes which direction he's facing, and not always, but a lot of times the camera adjusts itself so that he has more side on one or the other, which they do a lot in movies. If they're doing close-ups, they'll still leave space so you can kind of tell where they're looking like there's another person that's part of this conversation that we just can't see in the shot right now. So yeah, they'll watch how they do that going forward.
I am the right brain. I have feelings. I'm a little all over the place, but I'm lustful, trustful, and I'm looking for somebody to love. Put my penis. Here comes a female. Here comes a female. Puff your chest out, take your phone and check your email. Our evolutionary purpose is repopulate, so gather data now and see if she's a possible mate. Holy fuck, I think she might be the one. There's something about her, I just can't describe it. Tits.
And so that's the best example of it there because it happens so fast. And I'll go back and play it one more time where, he's one way and then he does this and the camera moves slightly to give them more space and then he goes right back to it. And it's very effective. Let's go back.
I just can't describe it. Tits. I am the earth, she's the glorious sun. I want her to trust me, and I just want her to sit on my face. Sit. Alright, now right brain, you're being insane. No left brain, I'm just being alive. You should try it. You might like it. I worked hard to give him everything he cared about. You were worried about the things that he was scared about. I'm calm and collected when you act wild. I am the adult, you are the child. You think you're the right one every time. You think you know everything. You don't know anything at all. Half of his problems were supposed to be mine, but you wanted everything. I hope that you're happy, cause he's sure not.
So somewhere after that kind of not second verse, but after they get done kind of explaining their parts of the personality and stuff, at some point there, it starts to get more serious. And we don't entirely realize that it's happening because they're still having this kind of conversation and they're arguing and it's kind of funny. And again, Bo, when he's being right brain, has this, silly voice and stuff that he's using and he's silly mannerisms. And so it seems funny. But at some point in this speech here that right brain is giving, you realize like, oh, this is getting to be actually serious. And at the end here when he says, I hope that you're happy because he's sure not, all of a sudden, and then it like stops for a second and there's like there's a beat before he starts talking again, and you remember like, oh, we're talking about like Bo here, right? Like it's his brain having a war with itself, but we're talking about like an actual human being who is him, and he's using this almost as like a, I don't know, like a weird like role-playing kind of way. It reminds me of like sometimes like in therapy or things like that, especially with little kids, they'll have them like act stuff out or whatever to like process their feelings, and it seems like he's like doing that like on stage in front of us, and you remember like, oh, this is his way of like being vulnerable with the audience and telling us like, listen, I'm not happy, like not always, but like there's definitely times in my life where I am overall not happy with my life. And it gets serious. And again, I think I sometimes refer to this song as Emotional Whiplash, the musical, because it is, and you'll see that more coming up here.
According to my calculations, You're a pussy. Name calling? Really? We're gonna do name calling? I'm not calling names, I'm just stating facts, and the fact is, you're a quivering pussy. I'm the pussy? Well, at least I don't play with toys still, okay? Rubik's Cubes are not toys. To keep my spatial reasoning skills sharp, let brain play with the toys. Look at you, Johnny fucking toy player.
And so we come immediately out of like, I hope that you're happy because he's sure not, with like quivering voice, very kind of serious for a second, right back into the comedy. And now they're still arguing, but it's funnier, right? And it's more comedic and we're laughing again. And then as soon as I hit play here, it's going to go back to being like super serious again. And now we'll have Left Brain actually like raising his voice and like getting emotional and angry. Yeah. And so it's that serious, but keep it lighthearted. Don't totally go there yet. And it kind of is whiplash, but also kind of slowly works us up to the point that he wants us to be at towards the end of the song.
Well, at least I did my fucking job. I kept him working, I kept him productive. You were supposed to look after him. You're supposed to keep him emotionally stable through all this. Now you're trying to blame me for how he's feeling. How he's feeling. If he's feeling unhappy, it's because you failed him. You did this to him. He hates you. I know he does. He fucking hates you.
And at that point, us as the audience are kind of like, woof, yikes, you know, like that's intense, right? It's intense. The lighting, the emotion, the volume of his voice and things like that. And then it immediately goes into Right Brain crying, which is again still sad, but in a comedic way that then we laugh again. And the music changes.
Right Brain, look, I'm sorry. No, you're not.
See, so it's like funny at the beginning, gets a little serious, funny again, gets a little more serious, slightly funny here, and it's like ways of breaking the tension. So, and you know, so that we're getting progressively more serious, but with like breaks in the middle to like break up the tension.
Look, maybe there's something that we could do together. Together. Take the best parts of both of us, put them together. I'm listening.
And it's much more obvious during this part too, as they just show him going in and out of the different characters. And he really is, you know, like he's got some acting chops. And I know that like acting is something that he enjoys and kind of where he got his start. It was his first love, right? Was theater. And so he gets to do that here. And in true Bo Burnham fashion, there's always a part, usually towards the end of the song, where not that the comedy necessarily completely dies, but where it gets to be like, okay, and here's the actual point that I'm trying to make with this song. Here's what I'm wanting you as the audience to take away. We did the funnies, we built it up, and now here's like the actual point. And we're getting to that part here.
It would let you let your feelings out. It would let me analyze. So you could man the themes, I'll man the form. It's something that George Carlin did. It's something that Steve Martin did. It's something special that we could both perform. Do you know what it is? Juggling. We could juggle and juggle our cares away.
And again, we're like, oh, that's beautiful. Like that, you know, and we know, obviously, when he says George Carlin and Steve Martin, all the stuff, that he's talking about comedy. And then Right Brain says juggling, which apparently, I did not know this, but I heard that both Steve Martin and George Carlin did juggle at one point. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I've heard. And Steve Martin, again, did a lot of like kind of more that goofball kind of comedy. Bo has talked a lot about how he was a big influence for him and how, you know, a lot of his stuff is inspired by Steve Martin's comedy. And I could see him juggling in the past. George Carlin, I did not know that about. So I think it's funny that, you know, it seems ridiculous and silly, but like Right Brain's not wrong necessarily, you know. Juggling could have been the right answer.
It was comedy. We could do comedy together.
Initiate reassembly.
All right, Brain, we're gonna do comedy together, all right, Left Brain, I'll do comedy with you. We can fix them like this. We can make them happy again, I promise. Left Brain, left brain, I love you.
3, 2,
I know.
1. Experimentation complete.
Thank you very much.
And so they kind of come to an agreement at the end there. And if you didn't know, at the end there's also another Easter egg reference for the nerds. I think he's referencing Star Wars there when he says, "I love you," and then he responds, "I know," because that's something that happens between Princess Leia and Han Solo in Star Wars. And I think I had heard originally that Han Solo was supposed to say "I love you" back, and then Harrison Ford was like, "I just don't feel like that's right for the character. I think he would respond a little more, like he would respond but like a little more coldly or something along those lines." And so he changed it and decided to just say "I know" instead. But it fits this situation because it's perfect, right? Of, you know, the more emotional right brain side saying "I love you," and then the left brain side just responding in the cold, analytical, emotionless "I know." And then I think that kind of like pose he does at the end there does also look like one of the, I forget which one, but one of the Star Wars like posters, like movie posters or DVD covers or whatever, which makes sense again also because clearly this skit is supposed to be in some sort of like a futuristic, you know, era where like on a spaceship or something where there's the technology to do this. So making a Star Wars reference kind of weirdly fits. Yeah. But I think that this is just such a good example of everything that Bo Burnham's comedy has to offer. It, you know, he gets to use physical comedy in addition to the musical comedy and just like the writing ability. He, you know, his timing is great. The again, the way that he uses everything between his voice, his physicality, the lighting, the camera work, all that kind of stuff to help create that feel and really feel like it's two different characters and make it feel like it's him, but it's not him. Like in this bit, he is not Bo. It's these different parts of him, you know, these characters that he's playing. And it's just so dramatic and theatrical and like such an amazing experience. I imagine it was amazing to watch in person in the audience, especially if you know, if we're seeing it for the first time live. What an incredible experience that would be. And it just reminds me that in some of his earlier interviews, he talked about how you know, he'd gone and seen like an arena show of some like big name, you know, comedy legend, and you're in this huge arena, but they're just down on the stage in a spotlight on the, you know, doing kind of the same thing that they would do if they were in a small comedy club with the brick wall, you know, and how he's like, his goal was to bring theater to comedy and to be able to get up on stage. And if you're going to go see him in a theater, to get like a theater experience, if you're gonna go see him, you know, in like a bigger venue, to like really utilize the tools and the resources that that bigger venue has to help enhance the comedy and really like bring the audience on like an emotional ride and just make it fun, you know, make it a spectacle. So I love that about his work. It makes him, I think, really unique among comedians. And I love that this is kind of a clear, you can see how he started with this kind of idea and then eventually matured and transformed and morphed into Inside. So yeah, I think that's all my thoughts. It was plenty on this song. I do enjoy this bit quite a lot. I just think it's impressive the way he was able to do that. And I think maybe we'll do 5 years next. I haven't done anything from the Inside outtakes yet, and 5 years reminded me, well, the first time I saw it, of this bit because it's him playing two different characters in the same scene, and he uses some of those techniques again in that one. So maybe we'll do that one next. That could be fun and a little bit more just lighthearted than this one, which, while being goofy and silly and, you know, slapstick, is also very introspective and serious and really addresses things about mental health that but in a way that is accessible to people. Yeah, so props to him on that. Hopefully you've enjoyed this breakdown. If there's other bits or things that I haven't done that you would like me to analyze, let me know. If there's any other performers that you think I should check out their stuff that maybe are similar to Bo, or just in general you think I might enjoy, feel free to let me know. But otherwise, I think we will end it there. Thank you guys so much. As always, thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one.